Hi everyone and welcome. It's FPL Matt Day here. Game week 9 is up and coming. We're less than 24 hours away and I'm back tonight with my top 5 midfielder options if you're on your wild card for game week 9 and onwards. I've done the defender picks, I've done the goalkeeper picks, I've got the midfielders and the strikers left, and this is the midfielders. I'm going to do a top 5 and not a top 3 for this one. And I'm going to go from my number 5 option down to my number 1. Just before I share screen and go through my options, if you can please like this video, give us a subscribe if you're brand new here, and get your comments in as well and let me know what you think of my picks in the comments. There is a slight little bit of pixelation. I apologize on the video this week. A couple of technical issues which I will be fixing. If you want to get notifications, get your notifications on by clicking the bell on the page. If you do subscribe to the channel already and the notifications won't work for you, you can actually unsubscribe to the channel, then resubscribe, then click the notification bell, and you'll be able to get all the notifications on so you do not miss a video. Anyway, that's all of the early administration done. Let's jump straight into the share screen and we'll go through my top 5 midfielder options if you're on a wild card. Here we go. All right, so sharing the screen and we'll get our 5th option up now. So as you can see, here's all the midfielders currently ranked on their total points. The man who's currently top, Kevin De Bruyne, he's actually not made this number 5 spot. Has he made the top 5? I guess you've got to watch all the way to find out. Let's go with my number 5 pick. It's going to be a man from the side that I support. Obviously Spurs, Son Heung-min got his first goals of the season in Spurs' 6-2 win against Leicester in the last game week. For me, he comes in at number 5. I would have liked to rank him higher, but I think 5's fair. He's currently 11% owned. As you can see, he's 11.7 million. So he's on the premium side, which is probably why I've put him at number 5, because he has only had that one game in which he has scored the goals. He did get the assist earlier on in the season against Southampton. I still don't think he's done enough just to justify a place higher up in this top 5. But at the same time, he makes the top 5 because he's a premium option who you can captain. And I think a big thing about picking midfielders in FPL is you need at least 2 captains, in my opinion. So 2 players that you can rely on as a captain. Because, for example, you could have the likes of Haaland or Kane as your strikers who you can always captain. Obviously, you've got Trent and Cancelo. But you want a couple of options in midfield for me because when midfielders do score goals, they obviously get those extra points that strikers don't get. So as you can see here with Son, he's still number 4 out of 272 midfielders on the ICT index, and he's 3 out of 272 midfielders for the threat. So he's still getting in the positions to score goals, and he's still offering a lot in the Spurs team. Fixtures, he's got Arsenal this week. He scored in this fixture last season in the home game. He's then got Brighton in game week 10. It's a game you could captain him in. Brighton don't have Graham Potter. We don't know what they're going to look like. So it could be a good game for Son playing, away from home on the counter attack. And then you've got Everton at home in game week 11, which is when Liverpool play Manchester City. So it could be a good game week to then captain Son and have him in your team. Tricky one with Man United away, and then Newcastle home. But then you've got the likes of Bournemouth, which again could be a perfect captain shout if you end up going with Son Heung-min. That's my number 5 option. Let's go to my number 4 option. And it's going to be another London pick. And it's this man here. It's Raheem Sterling. He's 9.7% owned currently. 10 million. So he's a little bit cheaper than Son. Again, he is a captain option. If you have a look at him so far this season, as you can see, he's returned in 3 of the 8 games this season, which doesn't sound like much, but one of them was a double-digit haul. And it's really been these last 4 games. He's returned in 2 of them. He's looked more lively. He's looked more deadly. He did score in the Champions League last time out in Graham Potter's first game as well. And for me, I think with Chelsea, they don't have a huge amount of striking options. Now, obviously, they don't have Lukaku, they don't have Werner. So then they really rely on their kind of winger, midfielder winger type of players, which obviously Sterling is. He's a midfielder in FPL. And he's still quite high up for threat. 14 out of 272 players. If you have a look at these fixtures as well, I think there's some really, really good ones in here. Palace away, Wolves home, Villa away, Brentford away. This next four, and then even leading up all the way to the World Cup. You've got Nottingham Forest in there as well in game week 18, game week 17, Bournemouth at home. A couple of really good fixtures there. And another thing with this wildcard, if you're using it, is you can plan all the way up until the World Cup stage, which is game week 16, up until the World Cup. Sorry, I've gone on to 17, 18. I've got the dates wrong. That's obviously when the World Cup ends and begins again, all the way up until game week 16. But you get unlimited transfers after that anyway. And Sterling, for me, really good pick. Chelsea's main source of goals. Getting a lot of the ball, getting in a lot of good positions. Obviously, very good pedigree in the Premier League. That's my number 4 choice. Let's go to my number 3. And this is a man that has been sold by a lot of FPL managers in the last week or so. And it is this man, Mo Salah. He's got to make the list. Why wouldn't he make the list? I know there's a lot of people who love Salah and FPL, like myself. He's been brilliant for me ever since he come to the Premier League. So many big seasons. This hasn't been that kind of season so far. He's 12.9 million. He's not scoring enough goals. He's not getting the assists. He's not getting the bonus points. He's not getting the doubles. He's not getting the trebles. It's not the Salah that we once knew, but it's still only early days in the Premier League. This is game week 9 coming up. Liverpool, refreshed, you'd expect from the international game week. They had a lot of players rested. They've got a lot of players back from injury. It's now gone down to 35.2% owned as well. And if you have a quick look at his history here, he did get a double-digit score against Fulham in game week 1. Also got a double-digit score in game week 5. So he still had 2 double-digit scores. Has only played 6 games as well. So he's still got, in a quarter of his games, 2 double-digit scores. And he still returned against Man United away in that one as well. So it still returns, 3 returns in these 6 games. That's 50% of the time. Look, I know it's not great for the money, but you've got 2 double-digit scores in there. And again, captain option. I think this Brighton game is the real big test for him. If he comes into this one off the back of a hat-trick for Egypt on the international break, if he comes into this one, grabs a goal or 2, then, you've got to look at it and think there's a big opportunity for Salah owners to capitalise from here all the way up until the World Cup. Okay, Arsenal away and Man City at home look like tough games. 2 fixtures, he has a good goal record in. West Ham, great fixture for Salah. Forest, great fixture for Salah. Leeds at home, Spurs, Southampton, all the way up until the World Cup. So I still think Salah, although he's not my number 1 shout for a midfielder, he still gets in my top 5 because of how explosive he can be. The fact that he's still returned in 50% of his games this season, and it's Mo Salah. And I think, he's not going to go, kind of go goalless. I guess he's not been goalless, but it almost feels like he's goalless. I don't think that is going to continue. So he's my number 3 captain option as well. For me, you can captain him on most game weeks. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 is a man that's been spoken about a lot in the build up to this game week. He is a bit lower down on the list there in the total points of midfielders. 7.9% owned. He's gone up to 8 million in the last 24 hours. It's James Maddison. If you have a look at him, he's returned in 50% of his games this season. As you can see there, he's played 7 games so far. And he has returned. He's got the 5-point score there against Brentford, 7 points against Arsenal, 7 points against Southampton, 7 points against Spurs. So actually producing just over half of his games. Okay, he's not hit the double-digit scores yet, but he scored 3 goals. He's got the assist, and he's getting closer and closer to that double-digit score. And that could really be this week. Forest at home, 2 teams that really can't defend at the moment, followed by Bournemouth away, Palace home, Leeds home, Wolves away. And if you look at these fixtures early on that Leicester played so far, they've had tough games. Arsenal away, Man United home, Brighton away, who've been on good form, Spurs away. These are all sides that are tricky encounters. And this is the fixture list now for Leicester and Rodgers, where, you probably expect Leicester to start picking up some points. He's on corners, he's on set pieces, 6 out of 272 players for his influence so far. For me, he is a must-have on a wildcard. Number 2 at 7.9%. I actually want to quickly add as well, just before I move to my number 1 pick, Salah is also on pens. So that's another sort of chink in his armour. Son might potentially be a free kick taker for Spurs after another goal for South Korea from a free kick. And Sterling, not 100% sure where he is kind of with the penalty situation with Chelsea. Not sure if he is going to be on them. I know there's Jorginho and Mount that take them as well. But you just never know. It's a sort of player that if he is on 2 goals, he'll take the pen to get the hat-trick. It's just the sort of player Sterling is. So there's a lot of set-piece threats, a lot of set-piece takers in this top 5. So let's go to number 1. And look, if you are watching this is a pre-record. But get your comments in the pre-record. I will come in there and reply to them all. If you're in the pre-record right now, you're watching this and you can hear this, comment who you think my number 1 is and see if you can get it before me announcing it. So let's get it up. Let me know now in the comments who it is, and we'll see if you get it right. Here we go. It's Wilfried Zaha. 16.2% owned. He was 15.5% owned when I did the notes for this, and that was only 24 hours ago. So his ownership has certainly gone up. Everyone sort of knows about him now. Highly owned, record this season. To be honest, it's not really. Look, he's obviously a lot cheaper. He's 7.2 million. So he's a lot cheaper than Salah. And I guess his record. It's not too dissimilar. Again, with Zaha, he's only played 6 games, as you can see. I remember him being injured for one of them, and he has returned in 3 of those games, so 50%. He's cheaper than Maddison as well, which is why he goes to my number 1. He's on pens for Palace. He's their main talisman, similar to Sterling. He's in a team where the strikers don't really score many goals. Or they have a number of strikers that they rotate and no real focal piece. And Wilfried Zaha is the focal piece of this Palace team. He can explode at any time. Villa at home, double-digit score. Can score against the big teams. Liverpool away at Anfield, as you can see. Brentford at home got the goal. So when Palace score or when they win big, he tends to get these big scores. He's done it down the years. I remember a big score he got at West Brom in the lockdown season. He had some massive scores last year as well. 7 for influence out of all midfielders, 9 for threat, really high up, 13th in the ICT index. And look at these fixtures for Palace. And this is a Palace team that likes to play attacking football under Patrick Vieira. Chelsea at home, a team, Chelsea, that have struggled this season defensively. Then you've got Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, and then Forest, and then obviously returning after the break with Fulham and Bournemouth. But obviously we are focusing on the wild card up until game week 16, which is just before the World Cup. And that is my number 1 pick. I think he's great value. His ownership's still low now, so if you can get him in this next sort of month, his ownership's kind of still trickling below that 20% mark. On set pieces, proven in the Premier League, Palace's main goal threat. He is my number 1 option. So let me know what you think of all of my options down below in the comments. Hope you enjoyed that. That's my top 5 midfielders. It is longer than my my other videos I've done for the defenders and the goalkeepers, because for midfielders, obviously, you get 5 places. And I did have a request from a follower of mine to do it as a top 5. And I think it works out really well. So let me know what you think. As I've said before, if you are new to the channel, give me a comment. Give the video a like, give me a subscribe, ask some questions, and happy to interact at any time. Thanks everyone again for tuning in, and I will have a strikers wildcard video before this week's deadline. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone for tuning in.